The Donkey's Brains. The lion and the fox went hunting together. The lion, on the advice of the fox, sent a message to the donkey, proposing to make an alliance between their two families. The donkey came to the place of meeting, overjoyed at the prospect of a royal alliance. But when he came there, the lion simply pounced on the donkey, and said to the fox, "Here is our dinner for today. Watch you here while I go and have a nap. Woe betide you if you touch my prey." The lion went away and the fox waited, but finding that his master did not return, ventured to take out the brains of the donkey and ate them up. When the lion came back, he soon noticed the absence of the brains, and asked the fox in a terrible voice, "What have you done to the brains?" "Brains, your majesty. It had none. Otherwise it would have never fallen into your trap." Wit always has an answer ready. The Lion, the Fox, and the Beasts. The lion once gave out that he was sick unto death, and summoned the animals to come and hear his last will and testament. So the goat came to the lion's cave and stopped there listening for a long time. Then a sheep went in, and before she came out, a calf came up to receive the last wishes of the Lord of the Beasts as well. But soon the lion seemed to recover, and came to the mouth of his cave. He saw the fox, who had been waiting outside for some time. "Why do you not come and pay your respects to me?" said the lion to the fox. "I beg your majesty's pardon," said the fox, "but I notice the track of the animals that have already come to you. And while I see many hoof marks going in, I see none coming out. Till the animals that have entered your cave come out again, I prefer to remain in the open air. It is easier to get into the enemy's toils than back out again." The Eagle and the Arrow. An eagle was soaring through the air when suddenly it heard the whiz of an arrow, and felt itself wounded to death. Slowly it fluttered down to the earth, with its lifeblood pouring out of it. Looking down upon the arrow with which it had been pierced, the eagle found that the shaft of the arrow had been feathered with one of its own plumes. "Alas," it cried, as it died, "we often give our enemies the means for our own destruction." The Milkmaid and Her Pail. Patty the milkmaid was going to market, carrying her milk in a pail on her head. As she went along, she began calculating what she would do with the money she would get for the milk once it was sold. "I'll buy some fowls from Farmer Brown," said she, "and they will lay eggs each morning, which I will sell to the parson's wife. With the money that I get from the sale of these eggs, I'll buy myself a new dimity frock and a chip hat, and when I go to market, won't all the young men come up and speak to me? Polly Shaw will be that jealous, but I don't care. I shall just look at her and toss my head like this." As she spoke, she tossed her head back, the pail fell off of her head, and all of the milk was spilt on the floor. So she had to go and tell her mother what had happened. "Ah, my child," said the mother, "do not count your chickens before they are hatched." The Cat-Maiden. The gods were once disputing whether it was possible for a living being to change its nature. Jupiter said, yes, but Venus said, no. So, to try the question, Jupiter turned a cat into a maiden and gave her to a young man as a wife. The wedding was duly performed, and the young couple sat down to the wedding feast. "See," said Jupiter to Venus, "how becomingly she behaves. Who could tell that yesterday she was but a cat? Surely her nature has changed." "Wait a minute," replied Venus, and let loose a mouse into the room. No sooner did the bride see this than she jumped up from her seat and tried to pounce upon the mouse. "Ah, you see," said Venus, "nature will always win the day." The Horse and the Donkey. A horse and a donkey were traveling together. The horse, prancing along with its fine trappings, and the donkey, carrying with difficulty the heavy weight in its panniers. "I wish I were you," sighed the donkey. "Nothing to do, well fed, and all that fine harness upon you." Next day, however, there was a great battle, and the horse was wounded to death in the final charge. His friend, the donkey, happened to pass by shortly afterwards and found him on the point of death. "I was wrong," said the donkey. "Better humble security than gilded danger." The Trumpeter taken prisoner. A trumpeter during a battle ventured too near the enemy and was unfortunately captured by them. They were about to proceed to put him to death when he begged them to hear his plea for mercy. "I do not fight," he said, "and indeed carry no weapon. I only blow this trumpet, and surely that cannot harm you. Then why would you kill me?" "You may not fight yourself," said the others, "but you encourage and guide your men to the fight. Words may as well be deeds." The Buffoon and the Countryman. At a country fair there was a buffoon who made all the people laugh by intimidating the cries of various animals. He finished off by squeaking so like a pig that the spectators thought he had a porker concealed about him. But a countryman who stood by said, "Call that a pig's squeak? Nothing like it. You give me until tomorrow, and I will show you what it's like." The audience laughed, but next day, sure enough, the countryman appeared on the stage. He put his head down and squealed so hideously that the spectators hissed and threw stones at him just to make him stop. "You fools," he cried, "see what you have been hissing?" And he held up a little pig whose ear he had been pinching to make him utter the squeals. Men often applaud an imitation and hiss the real thing. The Old Woman and the Wine Jar. You must know that sometimes old women like a glass of wine. One of this sort once found a wine jar lying in the road, and eagerly went up to it, hoping to find it full. But when she took it, she unfortunately found that all the wine had been drunk out of it. Still, she took a long sniff at the mouth of the jar. "Ah," she cried, "what memories cling around the instruments of our pleasure." The Fox and the Goat. By an unlucky chance, a fox fell into a deep well from which he was unfortunately unable to get out. A goat passed by shortly thereafterwards and asked the fox what he was doing down there. "Oh, have you not heard?" said the fox. "There is going to be a great drought, so I jumped down here in order to be sure to have water by me. Why don't you come down here too?" The goat thought well of this advice and jumped down into the well. But the fox immediately jumped on her back, and by putting his foot on her long horns, managed to jump up to the edge of the well. "Goodbye, friend," said the fox. "Remember next time. Never trust the advice of a man in difficulty."